Well, hello. Today we're taking a look at the St Cyrus National Nature Reserve in Aberdeenshire on the east coast of Scotland. It's an all-season kind of visit here, and though a National Nature Reserve, I honestly think that the majority of visitors go because it's got a beautiful beach. Dog-owning families probably outnumber serious botanists. Having said that, it's the plants that this place is noted for. It's where southern things reach the north end of the range, and the other way round, which makes this area especially diverse. Let's take a look at where you might start at the main visitor car park. Now this is looking back to the main visitor centre. The beach lovers, with their eager dogs and children too, mostly head off beachwards at this point, over the walkway here, that actually leads over and beyond the old course of the river North Esk. But we'll take the path that goes into the landward part of the reserve, past the water-worn boulders that are further proof a river once flowed this way, actually till a storm in 1879 changed the course overnight. We're heading for the green interior, sheltered by the old sea cliffs and the slightly higher dunes on the seaward side. There is another approach a little way to the north and at a higher level. On the seaward side of the village of St Cyrus is a tiny play dodgems type car park, usually busy. But that also marks the start of a cliff path that wends its way further north on an easy gradient through the lushness of the summer growth. At least today. Then heads downwards in a determined manner, down the old sea cliff to the north end of the beach with its attractive rock formations. And here's Joanna, paying the price of wearing just ever so slightly slippy shoes. Take care if you decide to visit the reserve this way. It's no big deal. At the far south end of the reserve, the Montrose end I suppose you could call it, there is a bird hide. You reach it from a not especially well indicated path near the Nature Scotland Visitor Centre, and it goes through the cattle pasture and gorse, and you'll probably have it all to yourself. On the way you can note the driftwood and old timber that again mark the old course of the river, and you'll soon see ahead of you the wooden hide that overlooks the estuary. Now, though you're quite close to the beach at this point, there is no access to it. Nature Scot prefers it that way for the area on your left. I mean, it's a bird nesting habitat for species like ring plovers. Other nesting species, such as terns, have suffered greatly from disturbance in the past. It'll be our lovely dogs again. To be honest, when we were there wasn't a whole lot going on. A few gulls, shelduck, a heron or two, the inevitable crows. I was kind of hoping for a little egret or something exotic, but these fine-looking things are commoner on the Montrose Basin, which is another option a little way to the south. That's where I photographed this one. Yeah. So let's go and see some of the flora. Here's, what is it now? Yes, here's a couple of burnet moths and field scabious. They're the commoner six-spot burnet moths, and they always make me think of my Murrayford childhood. As children, we were a bit scared of them, though they're totally harmless. You can see in high summer it's lush down in the old riverbed. Only a little further east it gets drier and the vegetation shorter. That's where it starts to get colourful, really colourful. Well, clustered bellflower wasn't hard to find. It's grown in amongst the ladies' bed straw and the bracken. must say it matches rather well with the yellow of the ladies' bed straw. Just a nice thing. Growing in profusion, well below the old sea cliffs. We'll take a little aside to view the Nether Kirkyard. It's a lower kirkyard. It's a religious site going back to the 9th century, and it's linked to a certain St. Grigg, said to be a Pictish ruler. Hence the name associated with this place is Ecclesgreig, or Grigg's Church. That was a watch house going past. The watch house is where the relatives of the newly buried would keep a watch over the grave, as fresh corpses were in demand by medical schools. In the late 18th and 19th centuries, grave robbers could make a living this way. A replacement church was built above the cliffs of the village of St. Cyrus in the 17th century, but the lower and Nether Kirkyard remained in use for some time after that. You can see that from the weathered tombstones from that period, starting about the 17th century, with the sombre symbols of mortality much in evidence. Hourglass and bones, hearts and angels. Which is why you need a picture of a dog to cheer yourself up. This is our dog. We've got plenty of water for him, but he's managed to miss the steps into the kirkyard, so he's gone back to see his master. Yes, hearts and bones, angels and tools of the trade, all symbols of mortality. Look for the hourglass just coming into view on the top left there. This is a 17th century one, I think. And here's the coat of arms of a local family called the Grahams of Morphy, still above the door. And there's a last view of the watch house in the distance there. The salmon netting only really stopped here, I believe, around 2007, and I'm assuming that these buildings here are to do with the storage of nets or the bothies for the fishermen. What I'm really looking for is bloody crane's bill, and at last I have found it. The other speciality of the area, bloody crane's bill. Good selection of it. Good selection of it here, not far from the fishermen's bothies. And there's the path we're going to be taking to get back up to the car park. And then, just when you think it's going to be quite easy, the steps suddenly get bigger. And meanwhile, the sun blazes down. So that's an impression of St. Cyrus and the National Nature Reserve. For most, it's just a great beach, whatever the weather. But it's also got plenty to interest bird watchers or botanists or anyone with just a sympathy for local nature and heritage. So however you reach the low ground, either by the cliff-top path or by the lower car park, just walk on and into that sheltered, magical area that has evolved between seaward dunes and landward cliffs.